Young General Ye hid a massive secret. He was completely obsessed with his rival's fiancée. Since the day we met, he lost his mind, scheming day and night to steal me away. Sadly, his rival and I had a history. We were childhood sweethearts, locked into an ironclad marriage contract. He planned to stay single forever, guarding me silently. But his mother secretly arranged his wedding. Tonight, he was too furious to lift my veil. Through the red silk veil, I whispered softly, "Husband, do you really plan to leave me all alone on our wedding night?" Yi Perong froze instantly. He grabbed the brass scale from the tray and flicked it up. My red veil fell away. Our eyes locked. Instantly, the brass scale slipped from his grip and crashed to the floor. He stumbled back 3 steps, his voice shaking. "Why is it you?" I immediately faked sheer panic, shrinking back. I screamed in terror. "Who are you? Chantao, help." The door burst open, maids shrieking. The screams shattered the night. The room erupted into total chaos, startling the wedding guests outside. Lady Wang, the Prime Minister's wife, rushed in. Seeing me weeping on the bridal bed, she gasped and nearly fainted. It was over. How could she not recognize me? I was the eldest Xia daughter, famous across the capital. My grandmother was the Grand Princess. Lady Wang had seen me from afar at a royal banquet. A woman so striking, you wouldn't find her match in the entire city. Who would believe such noble blood accidentally married into her family? Lady Wang had never witnessed anything so absurd in her life. "Miss Xia, I've sent a rider to the Marquis. We'll have news soon." "You've been terribly wronged," Lady Wang sighed, seizing the moment. "Before things explode, we will swap the marriages back." I whipped my head around, eyes full of tears. "Swap back? After bowing before a massive crowd? I am in the bridal chamber. Are you trying to kill me?" Tears spilled instantly. "Oh, sweet child, do not cry." Lady Wang wanted to slap herself, frantically comforting me. "This is incredibly unfair, but what's done is done. We have to fix this. The guests know nothing yet. We are all family here. If I leave your reputation ruined, I'd feel guilty. The Marquis will surely understand." I sneered coldly, wiped my tears away, and choked out a bitter retort. They might act understanding, but returning to the Marquis with tainted honor? I'd be torn apart by vicious gossip. I stubbornly turned away. "If that is true, just send me back to the Xia family. I would rather rot alone in a forgotten temple than swallow this sickening humiliation." "How is your honor tainted? I didn't even touch you." I shot him a mocking glare. "A man and woman locked in a bedroom. You say nothing happened. Who would believe that?" Yi Perong scoffed. "It has been 1 minute. What could we do?" I stayed quiet, staring at him. My gaze clearly said, "So you are really that useless." His face flushed with rage. Before he could scream, Lady Wang slapped him hard. "You worthless animal." I raised a stubborn mule. "You refuse to study and only cause chaos." With a son this pathetic, Prime Minister Ye couldn't even look Count Jinan in the eye. Every word felt degrading, though Count Jinan was seething inside. He kept his expression perfectly polite, just giving a tight nod. "Lord Yi, let it go. The damage is done, talking won't fix it. Since she already bowed in the Yi household, I will never send my daughter back. My estate might lack a marquis's raw power, but we are still nobility. Plus, the Grand Princess is watching. How could I let my blood suffer this? If it were a secret, maybe, but the entire banquet saw. And the girl bowing with the Marquis right now is the Shengshu's daughter, not mine." While the two fathers argued over damage control, I sat perfectly relaxed in the bridal suite. "Miss Xia, the madam worried you were starving. Please, see if this food works. Just tell us what you need." The old nanny bowed deeply, acting incredibly respectful. "Thank the madam." I stood and slowly walked over to the table. The maid stepped up to serve my plates. I sat upright, eating with flawless grace. Every tiny movement screamed highborn nobility. My chopsticks didn't make a single sound. I was impossibly poised. Suddenly, a messenger arrived. "Miss, the master and your father are waiting in the front hall. Please follow me." The nanny led the way. I smoothed the stray hair and followed her. Stepping inside, Chuntao and Xiahe sprinted over, their eyes red as rabbits, voices trembling violently. "Miss, are you hurt?" My 2 little maids had been by my side forever. They happily followed me into marriage. Who knew the grooms would get swapped mid-parade? They were scared half to death. Seeing me now, their tears fell like shattered pearls. They frantically patted me down, terrified I was injured. A sharp ache hit my chest. In my past life, these girls suffered hell inside the Marquis's estate. That evil mother-in-law beat them constantly. They took every punishment meant for me. I squeezed their hands and shook my head, silently promising I was fine. I turned around, walked toward the center hall, and bowed gracefully to Count Jinan. "Father." Then I pivoted, curtsying to Prime Minister Ye. "Miss Xia, please skip the formalities." Ye Wengsong quickly reached out to stop me. "We need your final word on this mess. The Marquis's men are waiting right outside. I won't release you without your blessing. You agreed to that marriage, thinking it was a perfect match made in heaven. Who could predict this massive wedding disaster? Just terrible luck. The Marquis's estate is playing damage control though, sending apologies and stacking extra gold. But their heir is already in bed with the Lin girl. The whole city knows. There is no reversing it. They know you sisters are close, so they want you to enter as an equal co-wife. Technically, you'd still be the heir's official bride. What's your call?" The sheer audacity chilled my blood. Marquis Ningyuan's family was sickeningly shameless. What equal wife? It was a laughable insult. In front of the entire room, I let my eyes flush red. Eyelashes trembling, but spine perfectly straight, I fell to my knees. Father, your daughter refuses. Count Jinin's gaze flickered as he ordered the maids to lift me. Father, they are a flawless couple. Why should I intrude? Since young Master Yi officially received me, if I crawl back to the Marquis now, the vicious gossip will bury me alive. Equal wife sounds pretty, but my reputation is already dead. I refuse to swallow this insult. I won't let our family become a joke. The Prime Minister is an honorable man. Entering the Yi family by mistake is simply destiny. Father, please cancel my previous engagement. I am fully willing to be the Yi family's daughter-in-law and serve my new parents. Please, Father, grant my wish. I delivered every single word with sharp, undeniable power, showing zero hesitation. It sounded heartbreakingly sincere. Ye Wangsong was deeply moved, his lips quivering for a long moment. Miss Xia is incredibly noble, such breathtaking grace. I am utterly in awe. Finishing his praise, he shot a venomous glare at Ye Porong, grinding his teeth. It's just that my son is a complete failure. I fear you will suffer. I pressed my lips together, eyeing Ye Porong. He stayed totally silent, but his fists were tightly clenched, a faint smirk playing on his lips. Looks deceive. How do you know your son won't be a man who actually dotes on his wife? I asked softly. That question left Minister Ye completely speechless. Ye Porong, who had been standing there blankly, suddenly perked up. His eyes locked onto mine, completely ignoring polite boundaries. My father felt completely torn by my decision. Marrying into the Ye family lacked the glamour of a marquis estate, but Minister Ye had the emperor's ear and absolute authority. Nobody dared cross them. Even if their status was slightly lower, at least no one would dare bully me here. Since you've thought this through, I can rest easy. As for the Marquis family's proposal, we simply drop it. This actually saves face for both sides. You've had an exhausting day. Go back to your room and get some rest. Understood. First thing tomorrow morning, I'll send my people to officially swap the dowry and betrothal gifts. I'll have to trouble Minister Ye to handle the details. Ye Wangsong eagerly agreed, personally walking my father to the front gates. But the happiest person in the estate had to be Madame Wang. She had just scored the perfect daughter-in-law out of thin air. It felt like pure luck. During their last engagement, people looked down on her son constantly, calling him completely useless. But now looking at the girl in front of her, it was a night and day difference. Hearing how I defended the Yi family earlier made Madame Wang's heart absolutely sing. What mother doesn't want her son appreciated, even if her boy was a bit rebellious? Still, today's chaos definitely startled the poor girl. Hurry up and send a bowl of warm milk pudding to soothe Miss Xia's nerves. Oh, listen to me, I should be calling her my third daughter-in-law now. Let my new daughter-in-law drink it and get some proper rest. If the sky falls, we'll deal with it tomorrow. Oh, and bring that useless third son of mine here right now. Chai Momo eagerly nodded and scurried off. Meanwhile, Ye Porong had just strolled into the courtyard. He already knew exactly why his mother wanted him. It was obviously about the wedding drama. When I was pregnant with you, a fortune teller swore you'd be incredibly lucky. And look, a perfect wife literally delivered herself to our doorstep. Ye Porong scoffed, looking completely unimpressed. What kind of nonsense was this? Madame Wang instantly smacked his arm. Don't act like a victim when you've struck gold. Your brother's wives don't even compare to her. You should be grinning from ear to ear right now. Miss Xia is elegant, dignified, and raised by the eldest princess herself. You couldn't find a better match if you tried. You need to rein in that nasty temper of yours. If you end up scaring your new wife away, the second she complains, I will personally have your father beat you with the family rod. Yi Porong let out an exasperated laugh, gritting his teeth. Other families have mothers-in-law who set strict rules for the new bride. Why are you bending over backward to side with an outsider, specifically just to lecture your own son? If you were even half as responsible as your brothers, would I be stressing out like this? Yi Porong just turned his head away. He snorted. He'd heard this exact lecture a million times before. Seeing his stubborn attitude, Madame Wang pleaded with him for hours until he finally gave a reluctant nod to the marriage arrangement. A mother knows her son. He was a troublemaker, but fiercely loyal. Once he promised something, he never backed out. Madame Wang finally let him leave. But before he even crossed the threshold, chaos erupted outside. Chai Momo rushed into the room, totally panicked. Madam, it's a disaster. The Marquis heir is causing a massive scene at the front gates. He's screaming that he must see Miss Xia. Isn't this whole marriage contract already finalized? It's the middle of the night. Has that Marquis heir completely lost his mind? Madame Wang glanced at her son, jumping straight to her feet. Did someone inform the master? Chai Momo nodded frantically. Yes, but the heir is shouting names, demanding to see Miss Xia face to face. Send someone to relay the message to her and explain the situation clearly. Whether she sees him or not is entirely up to her. Unless she gives the green light, nobody is forcing their way into the Ye family gates. That is your officially wedded wife now. Go back up your father at the front. Let's see what this Jiang idiot actually wants to do. Yi Porong gave a sharp nod and bolted out the door. He moved fast. By the time he reached the front courtyard, he spotted his father strolling out. The two shared a silent, knowing look. Together, they marched to the gate. Standing outside was Jiang Yan, looking pale and dressed far too thin for the weather. I need to see her. His hair was a mess, his clothes crumpled. He looked exactly like a man who came to hijack a wedding. Did this arrogant heir actually have a secret romance with the bride? Yi Porong wondered, his face darkening. What exactly do you want? The marriage arrangements are already locked in. Your marquis estate literally just welcomed a gorgeous bride. It hasn't even been a few hours, and you're already throwing a tantrum on my doorstep looking like an absolute fool? Jiang Yan sneered, his voice colder than ice. I absolutely never agreed to swap brides. Save the lectures, Chief Minister. I need to hear it from her own mouth. Yi Porong was grinding his teeth so hard they nearly cracked. Right as he was about to explode, footsteps echoed from behind. He turned, and there I was. I slowly approached the gates. The moment Jiang Yan spotted me, his dead eyes lit up. He carried this sickening, arrogant confidence. In his delusional mind, I was still the naive little girl who worshipped him. He thought my whole universe revolved around him, that I'd never actually marry someone else. Brimming with confidence, he locked eyes with me. I'm here to take you home. His tone dripped with an arrogant sense of charity. My stomach tied into knots. I met his gaze without flinching. In an instant, every painful memory from my past life flooded my brain. I remembered when my grandmother was dying, how I practically begged him to visit my family with me. I just wanted my relatives to think I was happy, that my husband actually cared. But he just glared at me, accusing me of faking an act. Every icy insult was loaded with pure disgust. Swallowing the bile in my throat, I stared at him dead in the eye. Lord Jiang, drop the act. I belong to the Ye family now. This is my actual home. Our marriage contract is officially void. Have some dignity. Jiang Yan's eyes practically bulged out of his skull, flashing with absolute disbelief and rage. How dare she talk to him like that? This submissive, obedient little girl? When did she ever have the guts to talk back? He tried to choke down his fury, his face turning dangerously dark. But just as he opened his mouth, my entire body froze like I'd been struck by lightning. Wait, was this scumbag actually reborn too? Jiang Yan wiped all emotion from his face, aggressively swallowing his rage. He convinced himself I didn't know about our past life yet, that he just needed patience. Taking a sharp breath, he spoke. This mix-up was obviously a ridiculous mistake, but I've already convinced my parents to take you on as an equal wife. You still get to be the Marquise's lady. Isn't that exactly what you've always begged for? His eyes turned incredibly dark, drilling right into me. Listen, my patience is wearing thin, so stop playing these childish games. You belong to me. I couldn't stomach another word. I took a hard step forward, glaring back with absolute ice. There is no law in this empire that lets aristocrats kidnap innocent women. Or does your mighty family think you control the entire sky? I've already sworn my wedding vows. You think I'd just blindly follow you out the door? Nobody cares about your stupid title. A daughter of the Xia family, I am not so desperate as to be bullied. Our engagement is over, Lord Jiang, so stop pestering me. I turned around. Father-in-law, husband, if someone still tries to ruin my reputation, please seek justice for me. Father, husband, please throw him out. With that, I turned and headed back inside. Hearing me call him husband made Yi Porong's heart skip a beat. He took a huge step forward, shielding me completely behind his back. His tall frame made Jiang Yan look even smaller. He never had a good temper anyway. Smirking, he glared at the noble. Things have changed. You heard her. Anything else? If not, get out. Yi Porong's face darkened, his brow radiating a fierce, hostile aura. Jiang Yan pressed his lips tightly together. When had such a dignified heir ever suffered this kind of humiliation? He never expected the gentle, delicate girl in his memory to have such a sharp tongue. He clearly remembered that in our past life, the first time I saw him, I gave him my whole heart. Jiang Yan couldn't figure out what went wrong. He could only blame this chaotic marriage mix-up. How did she end up in the wrong bridal sedan? I was reckless today. Tomorrow, I will bring my elders to formally apologize. Suppressing his anger, Jiang Yan bowed respectfully to Ye Wangsong. He didn't even bother looking at Ye Porong before mounting his horse and riding off. Ye Porong turned his head in annoyance. Is there something wrong with that guy's head? Watch your words. It's just that I've never heard of the Jiang heir having any ties with her family. Judging by today, he seems deeply devoted to your wife. Who cares how deep his feelings are? Didn't you hear? Your daughter-in-law kept calling you father. She even called me her husband. It is completely obvious that she looks down on him. Ye Porong's tone carried a hint of smugness. That heir is quite famous in the capital. He is the dream man of many noble ladies. Ye Porong scoffed. So what? He still lost to me in the end. Ye Wangsong saw right through his son's petty thoughts. If it wasn't for this whole mix-up, and the Xia girl following strict rules, you never would have gotten the role of her husband. The father and son parted ways, clearly annoyed with each other. Ye Porong clenched his fists, walking toward Biyun Pavilion with his head down. Walking inside, he suddenly realized it was our wedding night. The big red paper cutouts on the windows were striking. The faint voices inside made this normally cold and quiet courtyard feel a bit more alive. Xia. He walked out carrying a basin of water. Seeing Ye Porong, she jumped in fright, quickly bowing. My lord, my lady is still washing up. Oh, Ye Porong replied casually. He hesitated for a second, then turned and walked into the side room. Xia, he stared wide-eyed at his back, panicked and completely lost. She quickly grabbed the bucket. A few moments later, Chun Tao was helping me remove my heavy hairpins when he rushed in frantically. "My lady, I just saw the Lord, but he actually went to the side room. He didn't even enter the bridal chamber. What do we do?" My hand holding the comb paused slightly. Thinking for a moment, I said, "This marriage was rushed anyway. It is normal for him to feel unsure. I am exhausted today and do not want to deal with it anymore. Let's leave it at that. Besides, with only the two of you following me, I feel uneasy too. Let's wait until my dowry is sorted tomorrow. Once we formally greet his parents, we can figure out the rest." "My lady, you are right." Chun Tao and he thought it made sense. Though their hearts ached for my mistreatment, my comfort was all that mattered. I barely slept that night. I dreamed of happy childhood horse rides, and the joy of first marrying into the Marquis estate. But mostly, I dreamed of the terrifying nightmares from that deep mansion. Faces twisted into man-eating beasts, clawing and trying to drag me back. I woke up with a gasp. My heart was pounding. A tiny bit of light filtered through the window. The bright red wedding quilt beneath me was still blindingly striking. I finally let out a long sigh of relief. Hearing the noise, Chun Tao whispered from outside, "My lady, are you awake?" I slowly sat up. "What time is it?" Chun Tao came in to serve me. "You woke up so early today, my lady." "It's not even dawn yet," she replied, helping me up and bringing me some tea. "Did you sleep poorly?" I shook my head, staying quiet. I took small sips of water to soothe my dry throat. Seeing it was still early, I decided to skip getting fully dressed and just walked outside. Watching the morning sunlight pierce the clouds, my brow relaxed without me even realizing it. Everything from my past life felt like a massive dream, real, yet distant. While I was lost in thought, I spotted Ji Porong striding over in his martial arts gear. He wore a short training tunic, sweat dripping from his forehead. His muscles were sharp, with fierce eyes and a wildly intense aura. I had never fought someone like him before. As soon as Ye Porong stepped closer, the entire atmosphere shifted. You couldn't help but stare at him. I silently recited a Buddhist prayer, lowered my head, and softly called him Third Master. He scanned me from head to toe. Then he looked down at his own clothes. After a brief thought, he stopped and turned into the side room. When he came back out, he had changed into a deep crimson-fitted robe tied with a black sash. His messy hair was neatly tied up with a jade crown. Only then did he strut over, head held high. It wasn't just me, Chun Tao, and he were completely mesmerized. The two maids whispered with flushed faces, "Our new lord looks incredibly handsome when he cleans up." I had to admit, Ye Porong really was striking. At first glance, he was ruggedly handsome. He lacked the soft grace of a scholar, but he had a fierce, masculine charm. He was definitely easy on the eyes. I pulled my gaze away from this show-off peacock, gave Xia a quick instruction, and went back inside to wash up. But Ye Porong's eyes followed me the whole way into the room. Those eyes were endlessly deep. I had no idea what he was thinking. Ye Porong sat at the table, feeling a bit confused. Something was off. Last night, I called him husband so sweetly. Why had I switched to Third Master today? He looked down again at his elegant robe. What was wrong with it? When I finished getting dressed and walked out, breakfast was just being served. The moment I sat down, I saw Ye Porong grab his bowl and start aggressively stuffing his face. I froze, my eyes wide in absolute shock. He must have felt me staring, because he just shrugged and raised an eyebrow. I don't care about rules here. I eat however I want. I just sat there beside him, completely stiff, refusing to even touch my chopsticks. I tried to keep my face totally neutral. It wasn't until he finally put his bowl down that I spoke. "Third Master, meals should be delicate. You must savor them slowly." The chef poured their heart into this food. "Isn't eating like that a bit disrespectful?" Ye Porong laughed, shooting me a dismissive, playful look, telling me all that is useless. "I am just a crude guy who can't even read. If you hate how I eat, we can just eat separately from now on." Ye Porong wiped his mouth with a napkin. "That way, I won't ruin your appetite." "Thank you, Third Master." I lowered my head, looking like a perfectly tame and obedient wife. Ye Porong pursed his lips, his face turning dark as he dramatically whipped his sleeves and stormed out. Chun Tao and he exchanged worried glances. Staring at the chaotic mess on the table, they were furious, their hearts aching for my unfair treatment. The two of them rushed over. "My lady, please don't be angry. The Yi family is supposed to be a household of scholars. How did they raise such a crude son?" "Silence. If you ever gossip about your lord again, I will have you slap your own faces." His face drained of color instantly. "I know my mistake. Forgive me." Chun Tao glared at her before stepping up to comfort me. "My lady, the lord is a military general. He is probably just used to being casual. You don't need to stress over his manners now. Once you two get closer, you can slowly guide him. After all, he's eating at home, not out in the army camp. You really only taste it when you chew slowly." I lowered my head, staying quiet. I wasn't sure if she actually absorbed my words. I just ordered them to replace the breakfast. After a few bites, I left the pavilion. But as soon as I stepped out, I saw Ye Porong waiting outside, his back to me. Chun Tao and he were completely stunned. Honestly, I didn't expect this at all. I figured my earlier remarks had deeply offended him. Ye Porong looked back at me. I gave him a quick look. "Let us go. Father and mother are waiting." I stepped forward to lead the way. Xiaohe leaned over and whispered quietly into Chun Tao's ear. Our new master looks fierce, but he is actually quite thoughtful. I was so worried people would gossip if Our Lady walked alone. That is not what you said earlier. Was I not just anxious for Our Lady? I turned my head and shot them a look. Chun Tao and Xiaohe shut their mouths immediately. The walk to the main hall was not far, but I walked slowly, so it took quite a while. Surprisingly, Yi Perong patiently stayed right by my side the entire way. He did not act like the absolute troublemaker his father claimed he was. As we entered the hall, my in-laws were already seated, flanked by his two older brothers. Eldest brother Ye Xian and his wife Shuang, second brother Ye Qingqi and his wife Pei, along with the youngest sister Ye Anning, who was barely 14 years old. Sister-in-law Zhuang already had 2 children attending school, while Pei had just recently given birth to a baby girl, still wrapped in swaddling clothes. I had already gathered all the details about the Ye family household last night, so seeing them today was no surprise. Instead, the entire Ye family was staring at me, the last-minute replacement bride. They were incredibly curious, all eyes locked on me. Setting the others aside, little Yi Anning stared with her eyes wide open in pure shock the second she saw me. Standing right next to Ye Perong, judging purely by looks, we definitely made a handsome couple. But everyone in the Ye family knew exactly how reckless and terrible Ye Perong could be. They looked at my delicate appearance, and were all thinking the exact same thing. How did such a beautiful, perfect flower end up stuck in a pile of cow dung? Even the usually steady eldest brother Yi Xian showed a look of pure pity, and second brother Yi Qingqi was even worse. He glared at his youngest brother with total suspicion, wondering exactly what kind of dirty trick he used to force me into this marriage. Yi Perong narrowed his eyes at them. What is with those looks? I completely ignored the staring crowd. With a soft smile on my lips, I walked forward slowly and offered a deep, respectful bow to the 2 elders sitting at the front. Your daughter-in-law respectfully greets father and mother. Good child, please stand up quickly. Seeing just how graceful and perfectly sensible I was, my mother-in-law, Wang, smiled so brightly that her eyes crinkled into happy little slits. Her heart was melting. She only had one daughter in her life, but that girl always clung to Ye Perong, developing a total tomboy temper. It was cute when she was little, but as she grew, it felt like she was born in the wrong body. Her eldest daughter-in-law was perfectly obedient but far too stiff and restrained. Plus, childbirth had completely ruined her health, leaving her sickly for years. The second daughter-in-law was cheerful, but incredibly petty, focusing all her narrow-minded energy exclusively on her husband. She guarded against her own maids like they were common thieves. It was truly embarrassing. Wang originally had zero expectations for her third son's marriage, just praying the 2 of us could live a quiet, stable life together. Who would have ever thought that heaven would actually deliver the most elegant, precious girl in the entire capital right to her door? Looking at my perfect posture and gentle smile, this was exactly how she had wanted to raise her own daughter. She just did not know where she went wrong. I took a step forward with a teacup. I knelt down before Ye Wangsong. Holding the tea with both hands, I softly said, Father, please have some tea. You have been wronged. If this useless boy ever dares to bully you in the future, just come and tell me. Looking at such a sensible daughter-in-law, his heart felt both conflicted and thrilled. Conflicted because his own unfilial son was an absolute embarrassment, but thrilled because his new daughter-in-law was so reasonable and truly lovable. After Ye Wangsong finished his tea, I stood up, turned to Wang, and bowed gracefully again. Mother, please have some tea. Wang could not stop smiling. She quickly took the cup, took a delicate sip, and then pulled my hand gently, saying, Treat this place like your own home from now on. If anything makes you uncomfortable, just tell me. I will change it for you. Wang smiled brightly and continued speaking. In my room, I still have some royal shoe silk from the emperor. It is rare, but I am so thrilled today, I will bring it out and cut it into 3 pieces. My third daughter-in-law just married in, so she gets an extra foot of fabric. As older sisters-in-law, surely you will not mind this detail, right? Wang said, sweeping her gaze across them. Sister-in-law Zhuang and sister-in-law Pei. Zhuang replied softly, Mother is joking. Someone as wonderful as our new sister naturally deserves the absolute best. I actually have a pair of green jade earrings that I would love to gift her. A master recently said green suits me well, but they would look absolutely perfect on her. Although it is only August, we can start preparing winter clothes. My family sent some white fox fur last year, and I still have extra. Take it to make a fur collar. That snowy white color will suit you perfectly. Both sisters-in-law expressed their goodwill, and Wang finally looked satisfied. They both knew perfectly well they only got a share of that precious silk because of me. Everyone knew exactly how much my mother-in-law treasured those fabrics. Even when her own daughter Ye Anning begged for it, she never agreed. But the moment I walked in, Wang brought out her treasure to share. It was her clear way of warning them that I married beneath my station, so as sisters-in-law, they better not disrespect me. I stood up, gracefully thanking both sisters-in-law, and then greeted the 2 brothers. Finally, little Yi Anning stepped forward, sweetly calling me third sister-in-law. Right at that moment, a servant rushed in reporting that the Ningyuan Marquis family was here again. Anyone could see Jiang Yan and I had zero affection left. Any respectable family would stay away. Yet, my new mother-in-law had already finished my tea, and the Marquis family still dared to show up to snatch me back. Even a saint would lose their temper. Wang walked to the front courtyard with a stern face. The usually arrogant Lady Lu, wife of the Marquis, looked incredibly awkward now, full of frustrated helplessness over her son. Seeing Wang step out, she quickly forced a flattering smile. I cannot accept such a grand greeting from the Marquis' wife. Yesterday's mess is entirely settled. Our two families have never had any real ties. I wonder why you are visiting so early in the morning. Wang could not be bothered to beat around the bush with her. She did not even try to fake basic politeness. Look at what you are saying. Lady Lu hit a complete brick wall here. The proud Marquis' wife had thoroughly lost all her face. Usually, everyone flattered her, but today she was being openly despised. Lady Lu was so furious, she wanted to storm right out, but seeing Jiangyan standing beside her, she forced herself to swallow her rage. Lady Lu covered her face with a handkerchief, managing to squeeze out a weak smile. She looked right at Wang. There are only a few powerful families in the capital. You are the Prime Minister's wife. You are different from us who merely rely on our ancestors' blessings. This entire country depends on your family. Lady Lu, you are praising me far too much. Wang smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. She skimmed the tea leaves with her lid. My husband comes from a very ordinary background. We cannot compare to your noble status. If you have something to say, just say it. Lady Lu laughed dryly, bracing herself to speak. Naturally, I am here for the marriage between our families. Last night was sudden, but the engagement has been set for a long time. My son and your Miss Xia are deeply in love. We came today just to ask what Miss Xia is unhappy with. Our estate promises her the position of equal wife. Respecting her as the heir's wife, is that not enough? Lady Lu's tone was exactly the same as Jiang Yi'an's yesterday. These people believed in their bones that they were utterly superior to everyone else. Even lowering their heads, they showed absolutely zero sincerity. Wang felt absolutely disgusted listening to her nonsense. She slammed her teacup down with a sharp crack and straightened her back. Lady Lu, how truly unfortunate. Yesterday's messy affairs already have a result. The Xia family has completely cancelled the engagement. Now, the eldest Xia daughter has officially bowed to heaven and earth with my son. Last night, they even consummated the marriage. In fact, she just came to serve the morning tea. The eldest Xia daughter is officially the daughter-in-law of our Ye family now. That is completely impossible. Lady Lu's face instantly turned ghastly pale. How could she possibly consummate a marriage with another man? She is my wife, Jiang Yian shouted. Lady Lu's expression changed drastically. She quickly grabbed him. What nonsense are you babbling about here? Jiang Yian shook her off violently, gritting his teeth and glaring furiously. Do not think you can use words like that to trick me. I will not believe a single word. Lady Lu looked at the visibly darkened face of Wang, then at the crazed Jiang Yian. Her temples throbbed violently. She desperately pulled him back with all her strength. Do not be insolent. This is not the Marquis' estate. Remember your status. Jiang Yuan took a deep breath, forcefully suppressing his blazing rage. He offered a stiff bow to Wang. Madam Wang, please forgive me. I was impulsive, madam. Before the echo faded, Lin Miaowen dropped to her knees, looking desperate. I was foolish. We took the wrong bridal chairs. She bit her lip, pleading through tears. I just want peace. I will never fight her for the heir. That is when my voice cut through the room. Say it to me. Why kneel before my mother-in-law? Yi Perong and I walked right in, ignoring the others. I stepped straight to my new mother-in-law and bowed gracefully. I apologize for the trouble, mother. Her gloomy expression instantly vanished as I helped her sit down. Only then did I glare at our uninvited guests. When my father arranged this marriage, he respected your noble etiquette. But now, it seems your so-called high society rules are pure trash. Trying to steal a bride who is already married, smashing our doors in the dead of night, and today you show up with your new lover. Who are these tears for? The marriage papers are signed. The wedding is completely finished. I refuse to leave the Ye family just to crawl back to your mansion. Madam Lu, your family drama is sickening, and your son makes me sick. If you dare harass us again, we will take this scandal straight to the emperor. Let him decide if a powerful lord can just steal another man's wife. My words left Madam Lu blushing red, totally speechless. Her lips trembled as she turned to Jiang Yan. You came here last night? But he ignored her. His bloodshot eyes were locked entirely on me. You slept with him? How could you betray me? I almost laughed in his face. Betray you? How exactly did I betray you when we have absolutely zero connection? Or does your family just enjoy making up random crimes? Jiang Yan stared at me in total shock. How did you become so cruel? I sneered, making sure every single word cut deep. You do not have the right to know me. We were never close. Suddenly, Lin Miaowen stepped forward, staring at me with big, tearful eyes. Are you blaming me for this? I had no idea things would end up this way. If I could start over, I would fix it. But the whole city knows we accidentally married the wrong men. She covered her face, sobbing, playing the perfect little victim. We are sisters. If you truly want to join their family, I will gladly give up my position as his wife for you. What an absolute joke, playing the devoted sister? I just stared at her with icy, dead eyes. She looked like a cheap clown performing a magic trick. I have said this a million times. I looked at her, keeping my voice dead flat. Since fate arranged this little mix-up, his wife naturally should be you, Miss Lin. We both burned our wedding incense. Heaven gave you exactly what you wanted, so drop the fake tears. I already belong to the Yi family. I am done dealing with these hypocrites. Taking a deep breath, I turned my attention to my new husband. My dearest, please escort our lovely guests out. Then I dropped my final warning, and tell the young lord that his family must return my entire dowry before the sun goes down. I flashed a wicked half-smile at his mother. Surely Madame Lu wouldn't steal my money to buy gifts for her new daughter-in-law. That struck a nerve. The second they stepped outside, Madame Lu absolutely exploded. She pointed right at her son's face, screaming that she had never been so humiliated. Turns out, he had promised his mother I was still madly in love with him. He thought I would beg to come back. Even after I crushed his ego, he still wanted to talk to me alone. His own mother thought he was insane. Panicking, she grabbed her foolish son and dragged him all the way home. But the drama was far from over. My fierce family stormed straight into their estate. They screamed at them, packed up every single penny of my dowry, and hauled it back. Their reputation was completely ruined in the city. The furious grandmother summoned Madame Lu immediately. She fell crying, but the old woman just slammed her cane down. Acting like a child, without hesitation, she stripped away all her household power and banished her to the shrine for weeks. Madame Lu turned pale, sobbing about how the new bride would mock her. But the old woman was ruthless. She forced her to crawl on her knees and bow until her hair fell out in wild chunks. Her forehead was bruised and bleeding. She looked absolutely pathetic, losing all her power on the very first day of the wedding. Too scared to fight back, she unleashed her pure rage on Lin Yurou instead, screaming that her son and I were soulmates until that little rat ruined everything. Hilarious. Meanwhile, my life was looking completely different. My family proudly marched all my riches right to my new door. My quiet husband leaned against the frame for half an hour, watching the boxes flood his courtyard. But that gold meant absolutely nothing to me. In the massive crowd, I spotted the sweet nanny who raised me. My heart stopped. Fighting back tears, I choked out her name. "Miss, you really must not call me that," she whispered, her eyes turning bright red as she bowed low. I looked away, swallowing my bitter pain. In my past life, she died protecting me there, beaten to death by those monsters. Seeing her alive now felt like a knife twisting in my chest. Oblivious to my racing thoughts, she softly asked if I was safe. "Are they treating you well?" I nodded frantically, forcing a bright smile. "Everything is perfect. They are an educated family. Everyone is so kind." She smiled. "And your new husband?" she asked. Little did we know, he was standing right outside the door listening. I froze, not knowing exactly how to describe him. Finally, I spoke softly. "He might not be a famous genius like his brother, but he has a good heart and real courage. Honestly, I just want a peaceful, quiet life. I just want him to live a long, safe life." Suddenly, my chest ached violently. I remembered my past life. He died so young on that brutal, bloody battlefield. The man everyone mocked became the ultimate hero of our kingdom, but he never came home. I looked at my nanny and spoke the total truth. "He is wonderful. Better than anyone." Outside the door, those words made him freeze completely. It was like all the air had left his lungs. A second later, he strolled in acting totally casual, his dark eyes staring right at me. My cheeks burned. I looked away quickly. "Why are you sneaking around?" He just laughed, sitting right down next to me with a playful smirk. "You two were having such a sweet moment, I didn't want to ruin it." Then his playful smile vanished. He looked incredibly serious. "Did you really mean what you said?" I stared at him, keeping my mouth completely shut. He just chuckled. "I will take that silence as a firm yes." He leaned back in his chair, totally relaxed now. "Since you are so happy with me as your husband, that is fantastic." But his next sentence left me totally stunned. "This little courtyard is way too small for us. I'm sorry you went through that. Tomorrow, I'll tear down the west wall and expand the garden for you." "What?" I was completely stunned. But he was a man of action, leaving me zero chance to refuse before it was settled. The very next day, that wall actually came down. My maids were absolutely dumbfounded. But the real shock came later. Yi Perong actually changed into rugged old work clothes. He personally started moving bricks and hauling sand. The noble son of the chief minister, doing a bricklayer's dirty work. I took one look and headed straight inside, thinking it was beneath him. But the second I stepped indoors, I heard he paid for the whole yard expansion himself, just to silence his relatives' gossip. He didn't touch a penny of family money. My heart suddenly filled with mixed emotions. I had my maid ask the nanny to use my own funds at the kitchen. Every afternoon, I sent a bowl of hot soup and some snacks to my husband. When that steaming noodle soup was handed to Ye Perong, he completely froze. The cook was beaming. "The third lady specifically asked for this, terrified you were working too hard." Ye Perong raised an eyebrow, and his eyes instantly lit up. He immediately washed his hands. He dug right in, drinking every last drop of that broth. The cook laughed and added, "The third lady even paid out of her own pocket for your dishes." Ye Perong wiped his mouth and suddenly looked back toward my room. He was grinning. When he turned back to work, he was radiating energy. Meanwhile, I was inside organizing my jewelry, watching the room look so beautiful. Everything finally seemed to be heading in a good direction. Once the room was completely refreshed, my eyes landed on a few boxes of antiques and paintings. "Miss, should we hang these paintings up?" I shook my head and told them to pack it all away. Those old things didn't fit my new life. But when my maid opened another trunk, she looked troubled. "Miss, where should we put the master's clothes?" I didn't even look up. Flipping through my book, I told her to clear a spot. I secretly made up my mind to find the butler tomorrow. I absolutely needed to add a desk. I needed a space of my own. But before it even arrived, my mother-in-law Lady Wang showed up in person. 8 maids and older servants stood in a neat row for me to choose from. I asked her to help me pick 4. She didn't stay long, but her smile widened hearing I sent soup to my husband. Before leaving, she quietly had someone drop off an entire box of pearl hairpins. This sudden wave of affection left me completely overwhelmed. I wanted to share my excitement with Ye Porong, but he never showed up for dinner. I sent someone to check, only to suddenly remember he had already declared we would eat separately. Should we still wait for the master? I pressed my lips together, a chill sweeping through my chest. No. I endured way too much in my past life. This time around, I refused to tolerate a single second of it. Right after dinner, the nanny brought a message. My husband was exhausted and had already fallen asleep in the side room. Hearing that, I actually let out a quiet sigh of relief. The next morning, for once, I overslept. I woke up, rushed to go you ready, and prepare you my mother-in-law. But the second I stepped out, I bumped right into Ye Porong. Seeing me fully dressed, he looked totally shocked. Where are you heading? Of course, I'm going to greet mother. Just don't go bother her right now. She might not even be awake at this hour. Wait, what? Seeing my pure disbelief, he added. Our family doesn't have all those pointless, strict rules. If mother doesn't call for us, there's no need to greet her. My sisters-in-law do the exact same thing. If you have free time, you can just manage your own shops. Seeing I still didn't buy it, he sighed helplessly. Never mind, just go see for yourself. I walked into the main courtyard, totally skeptical, but the sight in front of me left me frozen. My mother-in-law had literally just woken up. There was no sign of the sisters-in-law anywhere. When she spotted me, she immediately smiled and waved. Why are you here so early? Hurry up and have some breakfast with me. We are all family now, so don't be so formal. Our family doesn't care about all those tedious rituals. You don't need to come greet me every single day. I don't want you getting exhausted. The most important thing is that you and my son get along peacefully. As for having kids, there is absolutely no need to rush. You are still young. Having a baby in a couple of years is totally fine. Once you two are happy together, a child will just be an extra blessing. These few short sentences caused a massive emotional storm in my heart, leaving me completely dazed. Looking back at my past life, my mother-in-law would summon me daily just to lecture me, obsessed with the noble estate's rules. Every time, she pressured me to bear a child. She forced me to please my husband and secure his title. Did she show an ounce of pity? But now, this mother-in-law knew we hadn't shared a bed yet. She didn't blame me at all. Instead, she gently comforted me. Such a reasonable mother-in-law. Was I completely blind in my past life to think this marriage was a bad idea? Right then, she noticed me keeping my head down in silence, and instantly panicked. Seeing my red eyes, she quickly asked, "What's wrong? Did I say something bad, or is my son bullying you?" I fought back my tears, looked up, and forced a smile. I'm just so happy. Marrying into the Ye family and meeting such a wonderful mother-in-law like you, even just for you and my father-in-law, I'm willing to live a good life with Ye Porong. Hearing this, she let out a long sigh of relief. Oh, that's nothing. Now stop crying. You look so much prettier when you smile. Her praise made my cheeks burn. Luckily, breakfast was served right then, but the food on the table left me stunned once again. It wasn't some lavish feast, just 3 or 4 small side dishes and a bowl of plain porridge, no different from an ordinary family's meal. I'm used to eating light. If you aren't used to it, I can have the kitchen make something else. I quickly smiled and shook my head. Thank you for caring, mother. I'm completely fine with this. Back in the noble estate's prayer room, I survived on cold leftovers. I'm totally used to it. To my surprise, she ordered a basket of hot steamed buns, excitedly adding, "When I have free time, I'll make some myself for you to try." After breakfast, we were discussing my first visit back home, when my eldest sister-in-law suddenly arrived with her 2 kids, 8-year-old Hangchan and 6-year-old Zhuyu. The children looked at me curiously but very obediently stepped forward to bow. "Greetings, third aunt. These kids are so well-behaved and adorable," I said. My sister-in-law looked delighted, though she didn't stick around. She quickly excused herself to rush the kids off to school. That's when I realized how strict the Ye family's values were. My eldest brother-in-law was an official at the censorate with a bright future. My second brother-in-law didn't score first place, but he still took second. Now he was already a director at the Imperial Academy. The chief minister raised his 2 oldest sons brilliantly, but when it came to my husband Ye Porong, everything changed. Ignoring the golden path laid out by his father and brothers, he abandoned his studies to join the military. The family was in total uproar that year. My father-in-law was so furious he broke 2 wooden canes, yet it didn't make him turn back. Instead, their relationship hit rock bottom. Eventually, my mother-in-law had to step in and mediate before he finally agreed. But after taking up martial arts, he wasn't exactly useless either. Every single master who taught him praised his incredible skills. But my third son is just as stubborn as a mule. He completely ignored a great career in the Ministry of War and just had to run off to some new recruit camp. A reckless kid with 0 achievements, claiming he wanted to train soldiers for the emperor. How could your father-in-law not be furious? This chaos dragged on for over half a year. His father just wanted him to settle down, but he ruined 3 marriage prospects in a row. Take the Lin family's offer. His father only got him to agree by promising to let him join the patrol camp. If that boy knew he was marrying someone like you, he never would have dared ruin it. Hearing that, my face instantly flushed red. Stepping out of my mother-in-law's courtyard, I finally felt a long-lost freedom. Escaping the toxic mess of the Marquis estate made my footsteps feel incredibly light. Before I knew it, my first visit back home arrived, and Ye Porong truly surprised me. He actually took off his martial arts gear. First thing in the morning, he was outside double-checking our gift list, even adding a few items himself. He slowly walked inside. "Tell me about your family," he said, "so I don't embarrass you. I only have my 11-year-old brother. My mother barely leaves her room after losing her hearing years ago, so a concubine runs our noble estate. Luckily, there's still my grandmother. She is the Grand Princess, whose protection keeps anyone from bullying us." Yi Porong hung on my every word, and even packed a special gift just for my little brother. Watching him put in so much genuine effort, I suddenly remembered my past life. My ex-husband completely forgot our homecoming day, leaving me to prepare everything alone. "My mother hates talking," I told him. "If you feel awkward, you really don't have to visit her." "Skipping my mother-in-law? Absolutely not," he replied. I was speechless. Just then, our carriage rolled to a stop, and outside Chuntao called out, "Miss, the Marquis carriage is right ahead. They are heading home today too." I instantly frowned. A heavy wave of total disgust washed right over me. "Let them pass," I said. "I refuse to let them ruin this perfect day. We'll bump into them eventually anyway." But to my total surprise, as their carriage drew closer, the curtain was forcefully yanked open. Jiang Yan'an was staring right at us. He looked frantic, clearly searching for me. Seeing my total silence, his face completely dropped into pure disappointment. Then my maid Xiahe stepped up. Refusing to tolerate him, she planted her hands on her hips, glared at his driver, and yelled, "Are you moving or not? If not, get out of our way. My father is waiting." Jiang Yan'an violently shook off her hand, slammed the curtain down, and coldly snapped out a single command: "Go." Once his carriage finally vanished, I told our driver to move forward. We finally reached my childhood home, where people were already waiting outside. Instantly, I spotted a tiny figure standing on his toes. My 11-year-old brother, Xia Qinghe. He was so small. He wore this incredibly bright coral red robe today. His serious, grown-up expression made me want to burst out laughing. Yi Porong stepped down first, turned around, and offered me his hand. Chuntao and Xiahe quickly backed away. Instantly, every single eye in the courtyard locked onto us. Playing the part of a perfectly happy couple, I placed my fingers in his palm and let him guide me down. Sure enough, seeing this, my family members all broke into deeply relieved smiles. "Sister," a tiny blur rushed straight at me. It was Qinghe. His eyes were sparkling, and his young face was glowing with absolute joy. That little face mirrored my own features perfectly. "Why are you still running around like crazy?" I teased. He quickly caught himself, snapped to attention, and looked at me with total adoration. "Sister!" I was so excited I forgot my manners. Just then, my grandmother's personal maid, Nanny Zhao, hurried over to us. "Eldest miss, and my new grandson. The Grand Princess and the Earl have a banquet waiting in the main courtyard. Please, come inside." Having Nanny Zhao personally greet us was the highest possible honor my grandmother could offer. Since Ye Porong held no official title, my father technically didn't even have to show up today. Grandmother absolutely pulled strings to make this happen. I led my husband through the massive estate. Though it looked majestic, it hid a completely hollow and cold feeling inside. Only my grandmother's courtyard carried warmth. We greeted my father, but he just shot us an icy glare, mumbled some fake pleasantries, and dismissed us. He didn't show a single ounce of actual fatherly warmth. Honestly, I didn't care at all. I politely nodded and led Ye Porong to the only place that truly mattered, grandmother's private courtyard. Nanny Zhao was already waiting by the entrance, and seeing us she beamed with pure joy. Stepping through those doors felt like entering an entirely different universe. Every single brick, tile, and blooming flower had been carefully placed by my grandfather long ago, perfectly mimicking her old royal palace. This was the peaceful sanctuary where she spent her entire life. "Ji is here." A stunningly elegant woman stepped out, supported by her maids. It was my grandmother. Despite her white hair, she looked incredibly dignified. Time only amplified her royal authority. I rushed forward and bowed low. "Your granddaughter wishes you perfect health, grandmother." "Oh, my sweet girl." She lovingly helped me up. Her eyes swam with fierce pride and soft affection. But suddenly, her sharp gaze locked onto Ye Porong standing right behind me. "So, this is my new grandson, the Ye family's third son." Ye Porong reacted instantly. He swept his robes back and fell to his knees. He performed a flawless royal bow. "Your grandson honors Her Highness, the Grand Princess." Grandmother smiled warmly and nodded her head. "He looks like a good boy. No need for such rigid formalities. Just call me grandmother, exactly like Ji Yi does." She waved her hand, signaling us both to take a seat. We expressed our thanks and sat down. I could feel grandmother intensely studying my husband. He sat perfectly straight, incredibly composed and respectful, desperately trying to make a flawless first impression. Seeing him try so hard for me made her eyes soften with genuine approval. "So, where is my new grandson currently serving?" she asked. Her smile was polite but completely freezing cold. This question was obviously a harsh test. My chest tightened instantly, and my palms started sweating. But Ye Perong didn't try to hide a single thing. Grandmother, I currently hold no official rank at all. Instantly, the entire room went completely dead and cold. The men in your family are all elite royal scholars. Why aren't you following in their footsteps? My heart shot straight into my throat, but Ye Perong just sat up straighter, speaking with absolute power. My family serves the people through politics, but my destiny lies on the bloody battlefield, defending our nation. The path is different, but the loyalty remains the exact same. Hearing this, my grandmother's tight frown finally melted away. Her eyes sparkled with deep admiration. What a brilliant answer. Ye Perong then boldly revealed his ultimate plan. He was going to take the military exams and command the capital's elite royal guard. But grandmother challenged him again. That military faction is incredibly dangerous to provoke. You have zero military experience, yet you want to dive right in? Hearing his fiercely confident replies made my heart race. I already knew the truth. In my past life, he dominated those exact military exams. The emperor personally recruited him, instantly erasing his careless playboy reputation forever. Suddenly, grandmother dismissed him from the room, keeping me behind for a private chat. She gently reached out, holding my hands and looking at me with deep sympathy. Does it hurt that you lost that powerful marquis marriage? Not at all, I smiled, asking her a question instead. Who's to say that noble family was actually a blessing? Hearing this, my grandmother finally exhaled in relief. She explained that the Ye family had incredible morals and would never mistreat me, but a royal marquis estate was totally different. If I suffered there, even she couldn't intervene to save me. I completely froze. In my past life, she had never said any of this to me. A truly terrifying realization suddenly crept into my mind. I blurted it out. If you knew they were toxic, why did you agree to the marriage? Her eyes instantly darkened. Staring deep into my soul, she whispered every single word. Your grandmother didn't agree to it. The Earl did. The Grand Princess did. My ears started ringing. Suddenly, my entire past life made terrifying sense. That's why she completely ignored my suffering in that terrible marriage. She was a royal politician first, and my grandmother second. The brutal truth was, nobody was ever coming to save me. I just didn't know how to save myself back then. So, I whispered in shock. My new marriage must have infuriated my father. She just smirked. Your little brother has already secured a government job. That single sentence completely silenced me. Of course, my brother had zero talent for politics. My marriage was just a calculated transaction. Walking out of that courtyard, my mind went completely blank. Even reborn into a second life, this raw exchange of power chilled me. Ye Perong watched me quietly, his bright eyes revealing a hint of worry. He wondered if I disliked him, even asking if his lack of an official title made me feel wronged. Seeing his nervous face, I actually smiled, just remembering things from my past life. I calmed down and decided to take him to my mother. Her courtyard was remote. After losing her hearing, she changed, refusing visitors entirely. I honestly thought she wouldn't even show up for my own wedding. Yet today, her gates opened early. Supported by her nanny, mother stood quietly, waiting for me. In a daze, I walked forward and knelt beside Ye Perong. We formally greeted her. Unable to hear, mother gently signaled us to rise. Nanny Jiang smiled warmly, explaining that mother knew about my homecoming visit and waited here just for me. Even more shocking, she prepared a handwritten letter and generous homecoming gifts. Nanny Jiang handed me the envelope to read later. In my past life, mother gave me nothing but a cold shoulder. We never even got a cup of hot tea. Seeing these large heavy chests brought forward, tears blurred my vision. She is thrilled about my new marriage into this powerful family. She felt the marquis estate was too prestigious. She avoided me before, so I would not face cruel gossip after my wedding. All her coldness was just her way of protecting me. Overwhelmed, I fell to my knees weeping before her. I was such a foolish daughter, blind to her quiet sacrifice. Seeing my tears, Ye Perong instantly dropped to his knees right beside me. Startled, mother stood up sharply, frowning and glaring at the nanny. Finally, the truth clicked. My father, my grandmother, and my mother, they all sacrificed in their own ways to pave a safe path for me. They loved me deeply, but their hands were tied. By pushing me away, they made sure they wouldn't drag me down as the new noble wife. I was so incredibly blind. I completely misread their pure intentions. The nanny spoke up, telling my husband that I was raised with endless care, and if I faced any unfair treatment, he should just send me back to our noble estate immediately. Panic gripped my chest. I was terrified he would take offense to this bold threat. But to my complete surprise, Ye Perong bowed deeply with utter respect. He promised to cherish me forever, treating me like an absolute treasure, swearing I would never suffer a single day of sorrow. His nervous dedication actually made my mother smile. Leaving the courtyard, my husband looked totally puzzled. He whispered that she seemed perfectly kind, unlike the difficult woman I had described. I froze, not knowing how to explain the truth. I just gripped the sealed letter hidden in my sleeve, desperate to read her words. Next, we joined my father for a formal meal. I worried my new husband's table manners might offend my strict father. Instead, he served me some food and gently told me to eat more. My heart fluttered. After dinner, my siblings and the concubines arrived. Ye Perong handled the awkward family politics perfectly, handing out every prepared gift. He didn't miss a single person. Even my hostile younger sisters, who wanted to see me fail, were completely won over by his charm. They happily called him brother-in-law. Watching this smooth victory, my father finally smiled with genuine relief. Soon after, Father let us rest in my old childhood bedroom. Exhausted from the long day, I collapsed onto the soft cushion. But of course, Lin Yurou barged right in, uninvited. I opened my mouth to speak, but her maid cut me off. She sneered that I wasn't the second miss anymore, but the noble heir's wife. Opportunists are always quick to change their tune when power shifts. There are too many rats to block. I ordered the side gate permanently sealed shut tomorrow. I am entirely done dealing with these endless annoyances. I told her my husband was resting inside. She wasn't welcome. Unless, of course, the grand noble wife wanted to peek at my husband to see who got the better man. That sharp remark completely choked her fake smile. Her face burned red, and crocodile tears began to fall. She choked out that I was still blaming her. She whined about my high family status, claiming she was truly left with zero options. She begged to be sisters again. Sisters? I laughed. I told her she was a grand estate lady making jokes, while I was just an ordinary man's wife now. We walked totally different paths. You stole the destiny you wanted, so why bother coming here to play the innocent victim? She cried that she never wanted us to fight, then she stared right through me. Word by word, she confessed that the noble heir actually wanted to marry me instead. He was still obsessed with me. Her whole pathetic motive became clear. She came to mark her territory, faking sympathy while demanding I drop my romantic delusions to avoid ugly rumors. Romantic affection? I felt physically sick. I barely even met that man in my past life. What romance? I guess that spiked tea at the temple didn't secure his cheating heart. Stealing my arranged marriage wasn't enough for you. Now you want to force a fake love triangle on me too. The second I said it, her fake innocent face went ghost white. I just laughed. I told my maid to grab the special wooden box. Inside sat a cheap, ordinary jade hairpin. But the instant she saw that plain piece of jewelry, the remaining blood drained from her cheeks. She stared in pure panic. I lifted the hairpin slowly. I reminded her how we carved these together, swearing to be loyal sisters forever. But our sacred oath is exactly like this cheap jade. Once shattered, no one can piece it back together. We are entirely finished. She stared at the shattered jade on the floor, weeping violently. But then, I casually picked up a teacup from the table. She recognized my exact grip instantly. She knew what I was doing. I flashed a cold smile and slowly poured the tea onto the floorboards right in front of her. I refused to be a victim again. She froze completely, utterly paralyzed. She finally realized I knew every dirty secret. My servants dragged her pathetic frame outside. Surprisingly, the heir was already lurking by the side gate. He eagerly blocked her path, demanding to know if she saw me. Her face stayed sickly white, fists clenched as she croaked out a desperate lie. She claimed I was tired today, but promised to visit his estate soon. That fool actually bought her lie. He smiled, thinking I was willing to visit his grand home. He still viewed her as my loyal best friend. The idiot couldn't comprehend how his reincarnation scheme failed. In our past life, when I was sick and dying in my bed, he was already busy planning his next marriage. He couldn't understand my sudden icy distance. Before he could even investigate my change in behavior, he blinked and found himself thrown back to our wedding day. Snapping back to reality, the heir coldly thanked his new wife and stormed off. She was left standing alone, drowning in bitter jealousy. She genuinely couldn't grasp why she would never, ever compare to me. Meanwhile, the drama in my own courtyard was just firing up. I ordered the servants to smash the side gate and brick it shut forever. I warned everyone that our estate and that traitorous family were completely dead to each other. Inside the bedroom, Yeparong had heard every single word. When I walked in, he sat perfectly rigid, his face completely serious. He swore he wasn't intentionally spying, but the thin door couldn't block the shouting. He jumped up, locking his sharp eyes on me. He asked about the spiked tea at the temple, realizing this whole arranged marriage swap hid a much darker secret. He was no fool. A few clues were all he needed. A terrifying thought clicked into place. Staring me down, he asked me point blank, syllable by syllable, if I knew from the very start that he was my real groom. I blinked up at him innocently. I called him my sweet husband and pretended to have no idea what he meant. His eyes shot wide open, completely silenced by me calling him my husband. He gripped his fists, sat back down, and frowned hard. Suddenly, he just laughed. He said to forget it, since I willingly chose to marry him. See, this proves you actually care about me. Guess your compliments the other day were completely genuine. He started looking incredibly smug. I was absolutely speechless just staring at his goofy face. A playboy, I sneered to myself. Where does he get his confidence? But that evening, right after we returned to the Yi estate, my in-laws summoned him. I waited a bit, then headed straight back to our pavilion. When Yeparong finally returned, I had already taken off my makeup and gone to bed. He paced near the door, then went straight to the side room without bothering me at all. Before I knew it, the Mid-Autumn Festival arrived. I had just gotten close to my sisters-in-law. My mother-in-law suddenly summoned us to the main courtyard. The palace is hosting a grand banquet, she told us. Your father-in-law and your husbands will not be joining us. She spoke calmly, slowly trimming her flower branches. My second sister-in-law immediately jumped in. Is my husband attending the royal banquet too? This year is completely different. I heard they might actually be picking wives for the royal princes. She pressed her lips together, clearly terrified her husband might catch another woman's eye. My mother-in-law just shook her head and turned to look right at me. What kind of dishes do you usually enjoy at home? The moon is always the same. As long as we are together, it is a true family reunion. Just being here with you all is more than enough for me. Oh, what a sweet thing to say. My mother-in-law beamed with joy, completely thrilled. She decided right then and there to add several of my favorite dishes to the feast. My sisters-in-law quickly made their excuses and left, but my mother-in-law asked me to stay behind. Her warm smile vanished, replaced by a heavy, anxious look. Did my son tell you about the martial arts tournament right after the festival? I am just incredibly worried about him. She set down her garden shears. Can he actually hold his own out there? He and your father-in-law have never gotten along. Now he is demanding to enter this tournament. My husband thinks it is a terrible idea and even said his son is just asking for absolute trouble, ready to humiliate himself. My heart skipped a beat. How could a father look down on his own son like that? There are so many fierce fighters on that field. They all come from elite military families. Standing out is nearly impossible. I suddenly understood her deep anxiety. I asked softly, "Are you worried he might lose and embarrass our powerful family name?" "Not at all." She shook her head quickly, her voice thick with genuine heartache. "I'm just afraid because he has poured his entire soul into his martial arts. If he loses, the blow might break him." I smiled back gently. Since he made this choice, he surely knows that victory and defeat are just part of the game. If one single tournament breaks his spirit, how could he ever lead an army into battle? You should relax. Just wait and watch your son become a truly legendary general one day. When that happens, you will be so incredibly proud in front of your husband. Those words hit perfectly. She burst into joyful laughter, looking at me with deep affection. "Good girl. I grow more fond of you every single day." She could not stop smiling as she secretly handed me a box of premium tea. But when I got back to our pavilion, I realized my husband had actually come home early. My two maids were hiding in the corridor, peeking at him. Turns out, he wanted to have dinner with me. That had not happened once since our wedding day. Suddenly, he announced he was heading to the storehouse. I just kept reading, completely ignoring him. When the food arrived, he walked back in carrying a small box. He slid it right across the table, raising his eyebrows with a confident, smug little smirk. "Open it." I carefully lifted the lid and completely froze. There were no expensive jewels inside, just two rough, handcrafted clay dolls. The detail on them was honestly a little clumsy. I looked up at him. A wide, proud smile spread across his face. "I made these myself." I had no idea what to say. "Your hands are certainly very skilled." He instantly frowned and glared at me. "I am not asking for compliments. Can you not see they are a matching pair? I planned it all out while making them. This is me and my beautiful wife. Now I am giving her to you to keep safe." I almost burst out laughing. I had no idea he could be this incredibly childish. I quietly shut the small box. I told my maid to lock it away. His eyes immediately went wide with panic. I paused for a second. "Make sure you keep it extremely safe," I added. A deeply satisfied look washed over his face. My maid smiled warmly. "Do not worry, sir. I will guard it with my life. I will never let you and my lady be separated." Hearing those words, my husband looked absolutely thrilled. But when we sat down for dinner, he suddenly ordered the servants to move my food. He knew perfectly well I hated his sloppy eating habits. What was his plan now? He actually split the meal into two entirely separate tables divided by a large folding screen. I stared at him, completely utterly speechless. "Why go through all this trouble? Were you not perfectly fine eating in the side room? Just eat your own food," he scoffed loudly. I could feel his intense gaze piercing right through that screen. Like staring at me somehow made his food taste better. Right after dinner, his father summoned him again. I knew it was about the royal tournament. He held no official rank. He had no business being there. His father was definitely going to scold him. But when he returned and saw my lights on, he just pushed my door wide open. My maids were too scared to stop him. He waved them away instantly. Then he marched right up to me and snatched the book out of my hands. "Stop faking it. You have not turned a single page in hours." My ears burned bright red. "Did you need something from me?" He smirked. "You know exactly what I want." He smiled, wrapping a strong arm around my waist. His warm breath brushed against my cheek. Just as he lowered his head, I firmly pushed him back, instantly covering my nose with my silk handkerchief. I glared at him, absolutely furious. "You really need a bath first." His face instantly darkened with rage. "I already washed," he yelled, snapping his arm away. He even lifted his sleeve to sniff himself. I scooted back, shooting him a deeply disgusted look. My eyes darted down to his boots. "If you cannot clean yourself properly, I can easily have the maid scrub you down." That completely set him off. He shot up from his chair. "You are far too precious for a rough man like me." He glared at me, his face turning pale with fury, and stormed right out the door. "My lady, what on earth just happened?" I just asked him to take a quick bath. "It is really not a big deal. My lady, men have huge egos. You embarrassed him in his own home. If his ego is so fragile, then why did he even bother coming into my room?" A wave of sharp resentment washed over me. "Do not worry, my lady, I will handle this. Since he walked out on his own, we certainly are not going to beg him to come back." That finally made me feel slightly better. For the next 2 days, my husband vanished from dawn to dusk, obviously still throwing a massive tantrum. I refused to chase after him. Finally, the royal banquet arrived. He actually showed up this time. But when I stepped into the courtyard, he was just glaring at the wall. I stepped forward, but he completely ignored me. Even worse, when I sat down next to him, he visibly shifted away. Now the entire family knew we were fighting. His father looked furious. If they were not rushing to the royal palace, he would have exploded right there. As the carriages rolled away, my husband still refused to look at me. But despite his childish mood, he took his duties seriously. He carefully inspected every single door. My head servant approached him quietly. "Sir, my young lady is just incredibly stubborn. She spoke out of turn and deeply upset you. As her loyal servant, I want to sincerely apologize for her. Raising flowers requires a very gentle touch. Sir, if you are just a bit softer with her, you two will bond much faster." She handed him a tiny wooden box. He stared at it for a long time before slowly taking it. Once she left, he snapped it open. Inside was a fragrant bar of expensive bathing soap. It was the soap I gave him before because he smelled. He snapped the lid shut, looking furious. But after clutching the box for ages, he couldn't bear to throw it away. Instead, he turned, marched into the side room, and actually soaked himself in the bathtub. He even used that scented balm, scrubbing himself completely clean from head to toe. This bath took him a full 2 hours. After changing into fresh, dry clothes, he actually couldn't wait to march right into my room. At the time, I was writing a letter to my mother. The letter mentioned the county praising Ye Perong for expanding my garden. He barged in right then. If he wants to read it, let him. He scoffed lightly, but the next second, he actually leaned in close. My body stiffened, but then I suddenly caught the familiar scent of soap. He really did go and take a bath. So, I didn't push him away this time. He instantly grinned, stretched out his arms, and eagerly pulled me into his embrace. I naturally leaned against his chest and said in a calm, flat tone, "I honestly thought that the great third master would never step foot in my room again." Holding a soft beauty in his arms, his voice softened considerably, but his hands started getting completely restless. I bit my lower lip and firmly grabbed his wandering hand to stop him. "If you treated me this well every day, I would naturally give you whatever you want. I purposely refused to give in. If you are willing to follow my rules, I naturally won't reject you." Hearing this, he choked on his words instantly. He probably thought my wet nurse was completely lying when she called me gentle. I took the chance to push him away, reminding him about the upcoming family banquet. Surprisingly, he grabbed me again and planted a kiss right on my cheek. Seeing that I was genuinely about to get angry, he finally let go, looking completely satisfied. He walked away in a fantastic mood. I was incredibly annoyed, staring at my flushed red earlobes in the mirror. The maids, however, were all secretly giggling. A little while later, Ye Perong actually came right back to pick me up. It was only a few steps away, but he insisted on walking me himself. Once we reached the main courtyard, my young sister-in-law, Yi Anning, came over to greet us holding 2 jade rabbit lanterns. I smiled and praised her delicate craftsmanship. Who knew she would speak too fast and let it slip? My third brother taught me how to make these when I was little. I froze instantly. That rough brute of a warrior actually had the patience and thoughtfulness to coax a child like that. At the family dinner, my second sister-in-law held a beautiful, rosy-cheeked baby girl, drawing praise from everyone. I just offered a very polite compliment and walked away. I really couldn't muster any genuine interest in such a tiny infant right now. Soon after, the evening banquet officially began. A table full of great food, and the atmosphere was wonderful. I took a small sip of the wine in my cup. It was actually osmanthus wine. My mother-in-law chuckled and said, "This was personally brewed by your eldest sister-in-law. We are all in for a real treat tonight." She looked at her 3 daughters-in-law, her face full of absolute satisfaction. After the banquet, we all went into the courtyard to admire the moon. The children ran around with their lanterns, laughing and playing noisily nearby. This scene made my heart suddenly feel so warm. Whether it was during my childhood at the uncle's estate or my past life in the Marquis's mansion, I had never experienced such a relaxed and carefree moment. My mother-in-law never forced strict rules on us, keeping the family harmonious. Right then, my mother-in-law leaned in and whispered to me that my father-in-law was usually extremely strict with his grandchildren. And it wasn't just the 2 little ones either. Even the eldest and second brothers got scolded constantly when they were young. I felt a bit curious and couldn't help but ask, what about the third master's childhood? Who knew my mother-in-law would just smile, give a knowing smile, and tell me all about Ye Perong's early years. When he was young, the third boy was disciplined harsher than anyone else. Your father-in-law poured absolutely all his hopes into him, and at any given moment he would scold or beat him. But surprisingly, as Ye Perong grew older, his temper only became more stubborn. The more his father forced him to study, the more rebellious he got. In the end, he just threw himself into the martial arts hall and focused entirely on training. My mother-in-law looked at me, shifting her tone with hidden meaning. The third boy has that kind of personality. If you accommodate him a little, he becomes much more sensible. But if you fight him hard, things go bad. I understood instantly. She was teaching me how to manage my marriage with my husband, but I lowered my eyes, my heart feeling incredibly cold. Blindly obeying him in my past life brought me nothing but bitter suffering. I even lost my life. Now that I finally earned this precious rebirth, Why should I walk down that same doomed path? Why should I swallow my pride? Just as my mind was spinning in chaos, my sister-in-law Yi Anning came looking for me. Third sister-in-law, a new tea shop just opened in the capital. Will you come check it out with me? It turned out her birthday was approaching, so her mother allowed her to gather with her close friends. I quickly found an excuse to agree on the spot, telling her I actually needed to visit the treasure pavilion to repair some jewelry anyway. Yi Anning was absolutely thrilled. She whispered that the eldest sister-in-law was in poor health. The second couldn't leave her baby, so right now I was the one who understood her best. But right after we finished our conversation, I turned around and completely froze in my tracks. I saw Yu Perong holding a small, roughly made lantern, standing perfectly quietly at the intersection. The soft, warm glow of the light made him look far more gentle than usual. I subconsciously stared at him a bit longer. I had to admit, Ye Porong had a very tall and straight posture. Just standing there, he caught the eye. He wasn't as refined as the second brother, nor could he compare to the eldest brother's steady nature, but he naturally carried an overwhelmingly commanding and heroic aura. Just for that handsome face alone, I could tolerate him. Then, he held his lantern and walked right beside me. The dark, dim path suddenly didn't feel scary anymore. But I absolutely never expected this. Once back at the house, instead of going to the side room like usual, he followed me straight into the main bedroom. He sat down and poured some water, but his eyes were locked fiercely onto me. His dein rimming clay Chuntao and burning, it felt like it could melt me down entirely. Just as I told Chuntao and Xiahe, his towering figure instantly loomed over me in the vanity mirror. The very next second, before I could even process it, he scooped my entire body up into his arms. Chuntao and Xiahe's faces flushed bright red. They hurriedly backed out and shut the bedroom door tight. I was completely stunned by this sudden, aggressive move, and couldn't help but demand angrily, "What are you doing? Didn't you already bathe?" The words barely left my mouth when he suddenly dipped his head and kissed me fiercely. A heavy, thick stench of alcohol hit my face hard. It was so disgusting my stomach completely churned. Seeing that he was about to force his weight onto me, I panicked and swung my arm. A crisp slap echoed out. The entire room fell instantly dead silent. Yi Perong tilted his head to the side, his chest heaving violently. He slowly released me and turned back, looking both angry and amused. "Am I really that repulsive to you? At the end of the day, I guess I just can't compete with that flashy honey-tongued air you prefer. Is he the only one who can win your heart?" After saying that, he seemed to just give up. He turned around and stormed right out the door. Chuntao and Xiahe rushed in frantically, but I just pressed my lips together and looked away. It wasn't that I just disliked him, it was that I slapped him. I sat up quickly. That awful smell of chives mixed with strong booze was genuinely unbearable. How could this man be so completely careless? He wouldn't even rinse his mouth or wash his face before trying to get close to me. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I immediately had someone fetch water and scrubbed my face several times. I didn't feel safe going to sleep until that horrible smell was entirely gone. But I never expected the consequences of that one slap to be so severe. The very next day, Ye Perong actually used preparing for the martial arts tournament as a flimsy excuse to move straight into the training hall. Now, the entire Ye household knew we were giving each other the cold shoulder. My mother-in-law sent people to check on us several times, but I stubbornly refused to say a single word. Eventually, even my father-in-law, the strict Lord Ye, found out about our fight. He angrily scolded Ye Porong, yelling that he wasted his marriage to a noble daughter by not knowing how to treat me well, and actually having the nerve to throw a tantrum and move out. My mother-in-law also sighed heavily, saying her own son was just a massive disappointment. But I couldn't be bothered to care about all this mansion gossip. A few days later, Ye Anning and I picked a perfectly sunny day and went out together. The elders agreed to let us go without a second thought. Not only that, my mother-in-law even secretly pulled Ye Anning aside, asking her to try and talk some sense into me. So, we headed out with a full squad of guards. I specifically grabbed a bamboo hat with a heavy veil, covering myself completely from head to toe. Ye Anning found my disguise quite novel but didn't ask too many questions. She was just thrilled to share a carriage with me. But she didn't know that the bustling, vibrant capital city felt both deeply familiar and completely alien to me. Back in my childhood home, I was the eldest legitimate daughter, the perfect role model for my younger sisters. I was tightly trapped behind high walls. Later, marrying into the Marquis' estate, I became the heir's wife that everyone envied. But I was just locked inside an even tighter cage. This entire city full of life and noise? I only ever dared to steal a brief glance at it from afar. "We're here!" Yi Anning's cheerful voice snapped me right out of my bitter memories. It turned out her third brother used to sneak her out to play, so she knew this place perfectly. The carriage rolled to a stop outside a tea house called the Four Treasures Pavilion. "Sister-in-law, do you know what the four treasures of this pavilion actually are? The first is their tea, the second is their incense, the third is their fresh fruits and pastries. And as for the fourth treasure, can you guess what it is?" Before I could even attempt to answer, she blurted it out with total excitement. "Rumor has it, this Four Treasures Pavilion aims to paint every gorgeous beauty in the world. Having your portrait hung up here is considered a massive honor." Hidden behind my thick veil, my eyebrows twitched up slightly. I was instantly intrigued. "So, inside this building, who knows who got interrupted?" Yi Anning bit her lip in pure embarrassment. not a single painting anywhere. Turns out the artist claimed he hadn't found a beauty worthy of his brush. I just softly scoffed. Pretty big talk for such a tiny tea house. We walked inside, and the place was absolutely packed. Surprisingly, there were way more women than men. Even weirder, they used folding screens to separate the male and female seating perfectly. Anning casually ordered a pot of tea and a massive spread of pastries. I stared at the full table, completely surprised. Such a generous little girl. Sister-in-law, don't underestimate me. I actually own quite a few shops. Plus, my mother gave me plenty of silver before we left the house. I definitely won't let you pay. I burst out laughing. But a second later, she rested her chin on her hands, looking totally miserable. Next year is my coming-of-age ceremony, but I really do not want to get married. Girls get engaged at 15. I looked down, gently assuring her she was still young, but I knew the truth. For a privileged girl like Anning, she could pick any husband she wanted. Meanwhile, my fate was never mine to control. Anning was still so childish, begging me to try the pastries. She had no idea marriage was a woman's second chance at life. My own marriage was delayed for 3 whole years. I was just smiling and nodding, but then I stared at the pastries and froze. There was an incredibly familiar vibe about them. Suddenly, a loud voice pierced right through the folding screen. It's rare for you to come out today. You have to try this amazing tea. Then, a man surrounded by a crowd walked straight into the tea house. His tall posture stood out completely. It was actually Changyuan. Instantly, I realized why these treats looked so familiar. In my past life, it was this exact same box. Just when I thought he was being extremely cold to me and I started doubting myself, he brought home this special gift. Just one box of pastries won me over completely. I gave my entire heart to him. But looking at it right now, sister-in-law, why aren't you eating? Too sweet. I don't really like sweet things. I grabbed a plain biscuit from the side and pretended to nibble on it. Anning started complaining about her birthday party again. She said her friends were all getting married soon, so they would barely see each other. She stared eagerly, asking what I thought of this tea house. I scoffed internally. Sure, it was elegant but way too flashy and wildly expensive, so I smoothly changed the subject. When is your birthday again? October 11th. My mouth curved into a tiny smirk. A perfect plan immediately started forming in my head. Tea houses are crowded and loud. It's so easy to run into trouble. When I got married, my grandmother gifted me a private hot spring villa. It's really not that far from the capital. If you don't mind, take my pass and bring your friends to the villa for a hot spring trip. We can just buy these exact pastries to take with us. It'll be quiet, private, and completely relaxing. Just consider it my early birthday gift to you. As soon as I said that, Anning's eyes practically sparkled. But then she hesitated. Wait, your grandmother gave this to you. How could I possibly use it first? I gently grabbed her hand. We are family now. There's no need to be so polite. Plus, you can check the place out for me, so later I can go visit myself. Anning absolutely couldn't hide her excitement anymore. She happily hugged my arm tight. I knew my third brother found a total treasure. If I were a guy, I'd definitely fight him for you. I playfully glared at her, feeling my cheeks actually burn. Stop talking nonsense. She finally sat up straight, completely failing to hide her massive smile. But then she suddenly gasped. Oh right, sister-in-law. Today is my brother's martial arts tournament. Looking at the time, he should be up next. Let's go watch him right now. I completely froze in my tracks. Anning just gave a sneaky little laugh. She winked right at me. You wanted to go out today just so you could cheer for him, right? I totally get it. He hasn't been home for days. You definitely miss him. She giggled and yanked me to my feet, saying we would make it right on time. Honestly, my mind was perfectly calm. I didn't want to stay in this tea house anyway. I just let her drag me right toward the exit. But the second we hit the door, a loud voice shouted from behind. Wait a minute. My chest tightened instantly. It was Changyuan. Anning's defenses went straight up. She shoved me behind her back, scowling directly at him. Who do you think you are? I could actually feel her fists clenching tight. She was fiercely protecting me, but Changyuan completely ignored her. His eyes were locked on me, trying to burn a hole straight through my veil. A second later, his face twisted with pure emotion. Shi, is that you? A violent shock went straight through my chest. The ex-husband who treated me like garbage in my past life just recognized me instantly. Oh, so you are the famous heir of the Ningyuan Marquis estate. Anning suddenly realized who he was. The pure disgust in her eyes was completely obvious. She looked him up and down slowly. Then she let out a cold snort and raised her chin. Why are you blocking my sister-in-law? We're busy. We have to go see my brother. Jiang Yan's face instantly went pitch black. He absolutely hated hearing her say that. I just want to speak with Shi Yi, alone. As if. You completely shameless creep. How dare you shout my sister-in-law's name in public? You think you deserve to speak alone? Nobody wants to talk to you. She grabbed my arm to leave, but Jiang Yan actually reached out to block us. Anning's fiery temper kicked right in. Without a single word, she shoved him hard and dragged me straight out the door. Once inside the carriage, I saw him standing frozen at the door, just staring at us. Right then, a tea house waiter happily handed him a pastry box. The exact same box I had treated like a priceless treasure in my past life. Anning was still cursing him out, but I couldn't hear a single word she said. As the carriage curtain dropped, everything finally made perfect sense. He never went out of his way to buy that for me. My special gift was literally just a free bonus item he happened to take. My overwhelming joy back then was nothing but a complete joke. The ridiculous memories kept spinning in my head. But looking at Anning furiously defending me, a sudden wave of true warmth rushed through my chest. I gently lifted my veil and smiled right at her. Thank you for today. But please, don't be so impulsive next time. Her little face just tightened up as she clenched her fists. I just can't stand his disgusting face. He knows exactly who you are, but still acted like a total creep. This girl's fiery temper really reminded me of my mother-in-law. She turned to me, her eyes practically glowing. The second my brother wins this tournament, I'm absolutely telling on him. I couldn't help but laugh out loud at her childish revenge plan. Before long, our carriage finally reached the estate, but the tournament arena was already packed with a massive crowd. The strict guards were blocking anyone without official business from entering. Without hesitating, Anning hopped down and confidently stated our family name. The moment they realized she was the chief minister's daughter, their tough attitude completely vanished. They led us straight through the gates, but the second I walked in, my jaw dropped. The bleachers were absolutely flooded with noble families. A massive sea of people with 0 empty seats. Sister-in-law, my brother hasn't even stepped into the arena yet, but it looks like we will have to stand. I just gently shook my head. Honestly, this was perfect. I leaned in close and whispered, don't worry about it. We can use this crowd to figure out exactly which powerful families are competing today. Anning's eyes instantly lit up. I've been dying to know. She quickly turned and ordered a maid. Go ask around. She whispered a few strict instructions to gather intel, then planted herself fiercely by my side. She was so protective. But little did she know, my real plan was only just beginning.